Sam lived with his wife Myra and a small boy named Tom in a tiny rented room on the edge of town. Their room had thin walls and a single window that opened to a noisy street. Life was simple and sometimes tiring, but Sam and Myra tried their best to stay hopeful. Even though money stayed short every month, they chose to raise Tom after he lost his parents. Tom was 7, quiet and gentle. He always clung to Sam and Myra because they were the only family he had now. Most mornings started the same way. Sam left early to look for small jobs around town while Myra cleaned houses. Tom followed her everywhere when he had no school. They had very little, but the small family stayed warm because their hearts stayed kind. Sam often said that kindness was wealth that could not be lost. One afternoon, when they returned home tired and dusty, they saw an envelope on the floor near their door. It looked old. It had thick yellow paper and a bright red stamp on the back. Sam picked it up and frowned because he never received mail. Myra opened it carefully and read the letter twice before speaking. Sam asked what it said. Myra handed it to him. The letter said that Sam had been named in the will of an uncle he barely remembered. The name was Uncle Ron. Sam had met him once when he was 10. Uncle Ron had stayed quiet during that visit and later moved far away to live alone. Now the letter said that Uncle Ron had passed away and left Sam a property outside town. The letter also said the property included all physical assets inside it. Sam blinked. He looked at Myra and Tom and shrugged. He did not expect anything big. Maybe it was an empty plot of land or a tiny shed. Still, the idea of receiving something felt exciting. They needed every little bit of help they could get. Tom jumped around the room, asking questions about the place. He imagined tall towers and hidden rooms. Sam laughed and told him not to expect too much. The next day, they packed a small bag with water and snacks. They took Tom's hand and walked to the bus stop. The bus ride felt long and bumpy. Tom pressed his face against the window the whole time. When they reached the stop, they followed a dirt road covered with dry weeds. The place felt forgotten. Finally, they reached the address. They all stopped. There was no house, no shed, not even a wall, only a metal door buried in the ground, surrounded by dry grass. It looked strange and unexpected, like something from an old movie. The metal door had a thick handle and a latch. It was slightly rusted but still strong. Tom sniffed the air and spoke in a soft voice. He said it smelled like a museum. Sam bent down and placed his hand on the metal. It carried a scent like old books and boxes untouched for many years. He pulled the handle. The door lifted with a long creak. Cold air rushed out from below. It carried that same old museum smell Tom had noticed. Myra stepped closer and looked down. A long stairway went deep underground. There was a switch on the side of the entrance. Sam pressed it, and lights flickered on one after the other. The stairs looked safe enough but long. Tom held on to Sam's shirt and asked if Uncle Ron had lived down there. Sam shook his head. He had no idea what this place even was. Then he took a deep breath and started walking down. Myra followed him. Tom walked slowly behind her, holding her hand tightly. The bunker air felt cool and dry. At the bottom of the stairs, they reached a wide room. It was bigger than their entire rented living space. Metal shelves lined the walls. They carried old books, maps, wooden crates, and carefully wrapped items. Everything felt still, like time had stopped. The day Uncle Ron last closed the door, Myra picked up a book. The pages were yellow and delicate. Tom ran his fingers gently across a wooden crate and whispered that it smelled old. Sam explored the room and found a desk in the corner. A dusty notebook sat on top with a pen beside it. He opened the notebook. It held Uncle Ron's handwriting. The first page said that whoever opened this place must be someone he trusted. It also said that everything inside the bunker now belonged to Sam and his family. Sam stood still for a moment. He never imagined someone who barely knew him would leave him something like this. He felt a warm heaviness in his chest. He felt seen and remembered. Tom wandered around and touched everything carefully. He seemed amazed by every shelf. Myra opened one crate and found old tools. They were clean and wrapped in soft cloth. Everything in the bunker looked preserved and cared for. Not one item appeared harmful or dangerous. It all looked like a private collection. Sam called Myra over to a table in the corner. A large locked chest sat on top. It was solid and covered in metal bands. A small envelope lay on it. Sam opened the envelope. Inside was a key and a short note that said the chest was for the future of the family. Myra looked at Sam. Her eyes held a mix of surprise and hope. She told him to open it. Sam inserted the key and turned it. The lock clicked. He lifted the lid. Inside the chest were stacks of folders, envelopes, and sealed packages. Nothing looked too impressive at first glance. Myra opened one folder and froze for a moment. Sam asked what she saw. She handed him the folder. Inside were certificates for valuable items Uncle Ron had collected and stored over the years. Papers showed ownership of coins, paintings, rare stamps, and preserved artifacts. Each paper had numbers, dates, and signatures. Sam read one certificate and felt his heartbeat rise. Myra checked another. Her hands trembled slightly. She whispered that these papers looked real and valuable. Tom looked confused. He asked how much valuable meant. Sam smiled gently and said it meant more than anything they had ever owned. They kept searching through the chest. The deeper they looked, the more serious the situation felt. Uncle Ron had not only collected items, he had preserved them with care. He had kept track of their worth. He had stored documents showing the value of everything. They did not yet know the full number. They did not know how much these papers represented. They did not know that Uncle Ron's quiet life had built a treasure, more valuable than anything they had imagined. But they would soon find out. This bunker still held many more secrets. This was only the beginning. Sam placed the open chest on a wide table so Mira could help him sort through the folders. Tom climbed onto a stool and watched with bright eyes. The bunker felt warmer now that they had spent some time inside. The air still smelled like old books and preserved things, but it no longer felt strange. Instead, it felt like a hidden place waiting to share its story. Myra opened the first folder and gently turned the pages. Each sheet listed a rare item Uncle Ron had owned. Some pages listed old coins from many parts of the world. Others listed stamps that looked like they belonged in a museum. Sam looked at the dates and felt amazed. Many of the items were older than him, older than Mira, maybe even older than the city itself. Tom picked up a shiny coin wrapped in clear paper. He held it carefully and asked if it was worth something. Sam smiled at him and said it probably was. Tom placed it back with great care. Mira watched him and nodded in approval. She always taught him to respect things even when he did not understand their value. As they continued exploring, Mira found a small notebook inside the chest. Its cover was soft and brown. Inside were short messages written by Uncle Ron. Some messages described where he found certain items. Others explained why he collected them. One line in the middle of the book caught Myra's attention. It said that every item was chosen to protect something important for the future. Myra read it twice before closing the notebook. She felt something gentle inside her chest. Uncle Ron had not lived with them or visited them, yet he had trusted them. She wondered what kind of person he had been, and why he had chosen Sam out of everyone he could have named. They looked deeper into the chest. Under the folders were sealed envelopes marked with neat handwriting. One envelope said appraisal reports. Another said secure holdings. Sam opened the one marked appraisal reports. Inside were printed documents showing estimated values of various items. Myra scanned the numbers and felt dizzy. Some items were worth more than a year of Sam's work. Others were worth even more. Tom did not understand the numbers, but he sensed their importance. He stayed quiet and waited for Sam to speak. Sam exhaled slowly and said they needed to check everything in a careful way. They did not want to rush or misunderstand something important. They moved to another part of the bunker. The next room was larger. Shelves ran along the walls and were filled with small boxes. Every box was labeled in clear handwriting. Some labels said coins. Others said stamps. Some said art pieces. None of the items looked damaged. Everything was kept safe and neat. Tom walked ahead with his hands behind his back like a little museum guide. He read the labels aloud with pride. Mira and Sam smiled as they listened. His voice echoed softly in the bunker, giving the place a warm feeling. Myra opened a box labeled stamps. Inside were neat rows of tiny, colorful squares. Many stamps had pictures of old buildings, flowers, or famous places. Some stamps were from countries they had never heard of. Sam looked over her shoulder and whispered that Uncle Ron must have traveled a lot or known people who did. Another box contained small paintings. They were wrapped in soft cloth. The brush strokes looked delicate and careful. Sam held one painting up to the light. It showed a quiet street with a sunset sky. The colors were warm and gentle. Tom stared at it and said the sky looked like melted gold. Myra agreed. Nothing in the bunker felt threatening or harmful. Everything felt preserved with respect. Everything. It looked like part of a story that Uncle Ron wanted to protect. In the far corner of the room stood a tall cabinet made of wood and metal. Sam opened it and found old radios and communication devices. Mira touched a dial on one of the radios. It looked clean even though it was old. Tom pressed one button gently. A soft click echoed through the room. The machine stayed silent, but the sound felt meaningful, as if the radio remembered its past. As they explored, they found another table with documents spread across it. These papers listed many items with careful details like weight, size, and condition. Sam noticed that some items had notes saying kept for long-term or hold for future value. It became clear that Uncle Ron had been very thoughtful. He had not collected things for fun. He had collected them with a plan. In the center of the room, Mira found a stack of wooden boxes. Some boxes were empty. Others were filled with small wrapped stones. Tom picked one up. The stone shone when he held it under the light. Sam took it and realized it was a gemstone, polished and smooth. Myra opened another box and found it filled with small blue stones. She gasped softly and showed them to Sam. They did not know the exact names of the stones, but they knew they were precious. Tom asked if Uncle Ron was very rich. Sam said he did not know the whole truth yet, but it looked like Uncle Ron had saved a lot more than anyone expected. Near the back of the room they found a small wooden crate with a letter placed on top. The letter was addressed to Sam. He opened it carefully. The message inside was short. It said that family was not only about blood. It said that family was about kindness and trust. It said that whoever cared for someone in need deserved a safe future. Sam read the letter aloud. Myra wiped her eyes. Tom hugged her waist, though he still did not fully understand the message. Sam folded the letter and held it close to his chest for a moment. The words made him feel seen. They made him feel that he had done something right by taking care of Tom. Even when life was difficult, they kept exploring until they found a small hallway leading to another room. The door to the room was slightly open. Sam pushed it wider and stepped inside. The room felt different. It had soft lighting and warm colors. A long wooden table sat in the middle. On the table were piles of old journals. A lamp stood in the corner, still plugged into the wall. Sam opened one journal. It started with a simple line saying that Uncle Ron had decided to record his life in these pages. The journal spoke about his travels, the people he met, and the places he visited. It mentioned how he spent years learning about history, art, and cultures. Every page felt full of life, even though the room felt silent now. Myra opened another journal. It described how Uncle Ron had started collecting items during his journeys. He wrote that he wanted to protect old things that might get lost. He wanted to keep them safe for someone who would value them. He wrote that he believed the future would give these items new meaning. Sam closed the journal and looked around the room. The place felt peaceful. It felt like Uncle Ron had lived with purpose. Every item and every page suggested that he had spent his life building something meaningful. Tom sat on the floor with another journal. He asked if they could read all the books one day. Myra said they would. She told him that these books were part of their new family history. Before leaving the room, Sam noticed a narrow metal door near the corner. It looked like it led to another storage area. He tried the handle, but it was locked. Above the handle hung a small tag that said Main Vault. Sam felt a shiver of curiosity. He wondered what Uncle Ron had placed behind that locked door. They decided to explore it later. They had already seen more than they ever imagined, and they needed time to understand everything as they walked back to the first room. Sam looked around with a thoughtful expression. This bunker was not just a collection, it was a message. A message from a man who lived quietly but thought deeply. A man who trusted them, and the bunker had only begun to reveal its secrets. Sam, Myra, and Tom returned home late that evening, but none of them could stop thinking about the bunker. Their small rented room felt even smaller after seeing the wide underground halls filled with old treasures. Tom could not sleep easily. He kept asking questions about the locked door Sam had found with the tag that said Main Vault. Sam told him they would explore it soon, but only when they were ready. The next morning they packed food, water, and a small flashlight. Even though the bunker had lights, Sam felt they should carry everything they might need. Myra put a notebook in her bag so she could write things down. Tom carried a tiny backpack with his favorite pencil and a box of biscuits. They walked to the bus stop again and followed the same dirt road. The bunker door still sat quietly under the open sky. As if waiting for them, Sam opened the door and they walked down the stairs. The familiar smell of old books and preserved items filled the air again. Tom smiled and said it still smelled like a museum. Myra agreed. They walked directly toward the second room where the tall shelves stood. Before exploring new places, Sam wanted to check the items again. He walked slowly, reading each label carefully. Myra studied the gemstones and paintings once more. Tom spent time near the stamps. He liked the small pictures and bright colors. Every item seemed to tell a story without speaking. After some time, Sam said they should go to the locked door and see if they could find a key for it. They returned to the first room where the large chest had been placed. Sam opened the chest and searched through the envelopes. Myra checked the corners of the bunker's desks. Tom looked through drawers and shelves, though he only found empty notebooks and tools. Sam opened a small metal box inside the chest. Inside it were 3 keys, each shaped differently. One key had a long handle. Another key was short and thick. The third key was small with tiny carvings. Sam held all 3 and wondered which one fit the vault door. Myra suggested they try each one. Tom nodded eagerly. They walked back to the narrow metal door. Sam inserted the long key first, but it did not turn. He tried the short, thick key next, but it also did not work. Finally, he tried the small, carved key. It slid inside smoothly and clicked. Tom's eyes widened. Myra held her breath. Sam turned the key slowly until he heard the lock open. He pushed the door gently. It opened without resistance. A soft yellow light filled the room inside. The space beyond the door was smaller than the other rooms but felt warmer. Shelves lined the walls with neatly arranged boxes. A table stood at the center holding a single wooden box. The box looked older than anything else they had seen. Myra placed her hand on the table and felt the smooth wood. Tom moved closer but kept his hands behind him. He understood the importance of this room. Sam placed the key on the table and opened the wooden box. Inside lay an envelope as thick as a book. It had a handwritten label that said Final Papers. Sam opened the envelope carefully and pulled out a stack of documents. These documents looked newer than the others. They were clean and neatly clipped. Myra read the first page and her breath caught. The paper listed the total estimated value of Uncle Ron's collection. Sam leaned closer and read it slowly. The collection included rare coins, stamps from many countries, small paintings, gemstones, and preserved artifacts. The value written at the bottom of the page made Sam step back. Myra placed a hand on his arm. Tom asked what the number meant. Sam looked at him with gentle eyes and said it meant their lives could change. Myra read the documents again to confirm the number. According to the papers, the full collection was estimated to be worth $210 million. Sam and Myra stared at the numbers silently. Tom looked at their faces, trying to understand. He did not know the meaning of such a big number, but he could feel something important had happened. Sam sat down in the nearest chair and placed his hands on his forehead. He whispered that they had never dreamed of such a future. Myra joined him and held his hand. She felt grateful, yet overwhelmed. Tom sat on Sam's lap and placed his small hand on Sam's shoulder. He said they could fix their small room now. Sam and Myra both smiled at his innocent thought. They stayed in the main vault room for a while, reading through the rest of the papers. Some documents explained how Uncle Ron kept everything safe. Others listed contact details of people who could verify the authenticity of the items. One letter inside the envelope was written in Uncle Ron's hand. It said he wanted the family who loved without expecting anything in return to have a secure future. Myra read the letter aloud. Sam felt a deep warmth in his chest. Uncle Ron had seen the kindness they gave to Tom, even though no one helped them. He had believed they deserved a new beginning. The letter made the whole room feel even more meaningful. Tom asked if Uncle Ron had known him. Sam said not directly, but Uncle Ron had known about Sam's life and choices. Tom thought for a moment and then said that maybe Uncle Ron liked children. Myra nodded and said maybe he liked people who cared for children too. After finishing the papers, Sam closed the wooden box and looked around the small vault room. Everything inside seemed chosen with care. He wondered how long Uncle Ron had prepared all this. He wondered why he had chosen to leave it hidden in a bunker instead of telling someone earlier. Myra suggested that maybe Uncle Ron wanted the right moment and the right people to discover it. They walked back to the main room and sat around the table. Myra opened the notebook she brought. She wrote down the number they had seen and the names of the items mentioned in the documents. She wanted to keep track of everything. She believed they should make careful decisions and not rush. Tom wandered around again and looked at the gemstones and coins. He picked up a blue stone and held it to the light. It sparkled softly. Sam told him to be gentle and Tom nodded. Myra watched them and felt a mix of responsibility and hope. She knew this discovery could help them in many ways, but she also knew they needed to handle it wisely. Sam walked toward the journals in the other room. He picked up one and read a few pages. The words felt peaceful. Uncle Ron had lived a quiet life filled with learning and collecting. The journals made Sam feel closer to a man he barely knew. After some time, Tom asked if they could bring one journal home. Sam thought for a moment and agreed. It felt like a piece of Uncle Ron's world that could stay with them. Myra placed the journal gently in her bag. Before leaving the bunker that day, Sam checked every room again. He wanted to make sure they did not miss anything important. Myra walked beside him. Tom followed behind them, holding his small backpack. When they reached the stairs, Sam looked back at the rooms one more time. The bunker no longer felt mysterious. It felt like a part of their life now, a part filled with history and trust. As they climbed up into the sunlight, Tom asked what they would do with the collection. Sam said they would think carefully and make choices with calm minds. He wanted the future to stay peaceful for all of them. Myra agreed. She believed the bunker was not only a gift but also a responsibility. They needed to honor the trust Uncle Ron had placed in them. They closed the metal door gently. The bunker disappeared again under the grass and quiet sky. Only they knew what waited beneath. Only they knew about the $210 million worth of treasure, waiting patiently in the dark. And their journey with Uncle Ron's legacy had only begun. The next morning came with a light breeze that moved softly across the small town. The sky was calm and clear. Ryan woke first. He lay on the old sofa in the living room, his head full of thoughts. The papers from the bunker were folded on the table. The bank visit was planned for today. It felt unreal, but excitement lived quietly inside him. Sarah walked in with a warm smile. She carried 2 cups of tea. Ryan took his with a thankful nod. May soon followed, brushing her hair with slow morning energy. Her eyes looked brighter than before. She had slept peacefully. The heavy worry that always sat inside her felt lighter now. Sarah looked at both of them and said, "Today is important. We stay calm and clear. We go step by step." May sat on the sofa next to Ryan. "Uncle, do you think the bank will say yes?" she asked. Ryan answered, "I do not know for sure, but we take the papers. They are real. We speak with respect. We learn everything one step at a time." May nodded with trust. They ate a light breakfast and got ready. Ryan wore a clean shirt. Sarah tied her hair neatly. May wore her simple blue dress. The family walked together to the town bank. It was not far, but every step felt long. When they entered the bank, the cool air inside made May shiver a little. She held Sarah's hand. A staff member at the counter asked, "How may we help you?" Ryan cleared his throat and said, "We need to speak with the manager. It is about an old account and documents from a sealed property." The staff nodded and guided them to an office. After a short wait, the bank manager entered. He was a calm man with gray hair and a friendly face. "I am Armin, the manager. "How can I help you today?" Ian placed the folder on the desk. Armin opened it. He adjusted his glasses and read slowly. His expression changed slightly as he went through each page with careful eyes. After some minutes he looked up. "This is interesting. Where did you find these papers?" Rian answered honestly. "In a bunker we inherited from a relative who passed away. We did not know about it before." Armin nodded again. "These are old documents, but they look real. The signatures match the records from many years ago. If this is accurate, there is a large account connected to this property." Sarah felt her breath pause. May held her hand tighter. Armin stood up. "I will need to verify this with the main branch. It'll take a bit of time. Please wait here." The family waited quietly. Each minute felt like an hour. May sat between them, looking at the door again and again. After some time, Armin returned. His face showed a gentle smile. "Everything matches. The account is real, and the funds are active. This is one of the oldest trust accounts in our records. The total amount is very high." He wrote something on a paper and turned it toward them. Rian looked at the number. Sarah looked at the number. May leaned forward a little, trying to read it. Sarah covered her mouth with both hands. Her eyes softened with shock. Rian felt his breath shake for a moment. He whispered, "This is more money than I have ever imagined." May looked confused. "Is that a big number?" Sarah gently touched her shoulder. "Yes, May, very big," Armin explained. "The account was created long ago. It grew over many years. Now you are the legal inheritors. You can choose how to use it, or it can help you open a new account or transfer it slowly." Rian nodded with deep respect. "Thank you for your help. We need some time to understand everything, of course." "Take all the time you need." The family left the bank with quiet steps. When they stepped outside, the bright sunlight felt almost new. May held both their hands. "Uncle, does this mean we can fix the house?" she asked softly. Rian smiled. "Yes, we can fix the house, but we will plan carefully," Sarah added. "And you can go to a good school, and we can make a safe life." May's face glowed with joy. They walked back home. When they entered the small old house, it suddenly felt different. It was the same broken walls and same old furniture. Yet now there was a gentle hope in every corner. Sarah sat down at the table. "We need a plan. We cannot rush," Rian agreed. "We use the money for good things. We stay simple. We stay careful." May lifted her hand. "Can we also do something for the bunker? It is part of our family now." Rian thought for a moment. "Yes, May, we can make it safe and clean. Maybe turn it into something useful." Sarah stood and brought paper and pen. She wrote simple points. "Fix the house, fix the roof, buy safe water system, get good school for May, keep some money saved, help someone in need if possible." When she finished writing, she smiled. "This is our list. We start from the top." Rian felt something warm inside him. For many years he felt like life was always pressing him down. Now, for the first time, he felt a door had opened. Not because of the money, but because of the chance to build a peaceful life with Sarah and May. Later that day, May went to her small room and opened the tiny toy box she kept hidden. Inside were small paper drawings she had made over the years. Most drawings were of her parents. She held one drawing for a moment, then placed it gently back inside. She whispered, "Thank you. Uncle and Auntie take care of me now." She walked to the living room. "Uncle, can I help with the list?" Rian smiled. "Of course. You are part of this family." They worked together the whole afternoon. Rian measured the broken windows. Sarah looked at tiles and paint choices. May cleaned old shelves. They laughed softly at little things. For the first time, their home felt alive with hope. The evening came slowly. The warm colors of sunset filled the room. They sat together for dinner. The meal was simple, but they ate with peaceful hearts. Rian looked at them and said, "Today was a big day. But we stay the same. We stay honest. We stay kind. We use this gift for good things." Sarah nodded. "Yes, we are together. That is the biggest gift." May held their hands. "I like this family. I like this home." When night arrived, the house was quiet. May slept peacefully. Sarah slept with calm in her heart. Rian sat for a few minutes near the window, looking out at the night sky. He whispered to himself, "This is our new beginning." He closed the window, turned off the light, and walked to his room. The next morning would bring new plans, new choices, and new challenges. But for the first time in many years, they were ready. The sun rose softly over the small town, painting the roofs with warm morning light. Inside the small house, the air felt peaceful. This day was different. It was the first day of their new life. Rian woke early. He stepped outside and breathed the cool air. For years he had started every morning with worry. Today he felt something new. He felt calm. Inside, Sarah was already awake, packing a small breakfast for all of them. She hummed quietly. There was a lightness in her steps. May came out of her room with a happy grin. "Uncle, what is the plan today?" she asked. With bright eyes, Rian smiled. "Today we start fixing this house, and later we visit the bunker again. We need to understand it better." May clapped her hands with excitement. After eating together, they began the first task. Rian climbed a small stepladder and checked the broken window frame. Sarah brought new tools they had bought with a small portion of the bank funds. May handed them screws one by one, proud to be part of the work. The house slowly started to change. The broken window was replaced. The cracked tiles near the kitchen were cleaned. Sarah washed the walls while humming quietly. May swept every corner with full focus. The house, once dull and tired, began to feel warm and alive. Around midday, they took a break. They sat in the small yard, eating simple sandwiches. May watched birds land on the old fence. Uncle, do you think the bunker can also look nice one day? She asked. Rian nodded. Yes, May, we can fix it too. It is part of us now. After finishing lunch, they headed toward the bunker. The path was now familiar, but still exciting. They approached the metal door, and May whispered the same words she said before. It smells like a museum. Uncle, this time, she said it with a smile. They switched on the lights. The room looked cleaner now after their earlier visit. Rian walked around slowly, studying things he had not looked at before. He found a small crate filled with old tools. Another crate held sealed notebooks with blank pages. Sarah carefully opened one metal box and found old coins packed in cloth. None of the items had danger. Everything was peaceful and strange in a gentle way, like memories from a quiet past. May explored the large shelves. She found a small wooden box with soft fabric inside. She looked up at Rian. Uncle, can I keep this box for my drawings? Rian smiled warmly. If you like it. Yes, it is yours now. Sarah walked toward a wall full of maps. There were many old maps of cities, mountains, and rivers. She ran her fingers gently across them. This bunker was made with care, she said. Someone wanted to protect something important. Rian nodded. And now it is our job to take care of it with respect. They decided to make the bunker their family storage and workspace. It would hold their tools, books, and important papers. It felt good to give it a new purpose after finishing their visit. They locked the bunker carefully and went home. In the late afternoon, the town felt warm and lively. Birds returned to their trees. Children played on quiet streets. Neighbors passed by and waved. Rian and Sarah felt a little shy. They had never been noticed much before. Life had always been simple and quiet. But today, something felt different. Not because of the money, but because they stood tall with new hope. When evening came, they sat together on the repaired sofa. We should think about the future, Sarah said. Rian nodded. We use the money slowly. We save most of it. We make the house strong. We give May a good education. And we stay the same people we always were. May looked up. And can we help others? Turian placed his hand on her head. Yes, if someone needs help, we can share a little. Helping is part of a good life, Sarah added. But we stay simple. That is important. They talked for a long time about their future. May shared her dreams. She wanted to learn art, study more, and help animals. Rian listened with pride. Sarah smiled at every word. Later that night, they sat outside on the small porch. The stars were clear. A calm silence wrapped around them. Rian looked at the sky. For many years he had thought life would never change. He had worked long hours and saved every coin for food and shelter. But now, life had opened a gentle door for him. Sarah leaned her head on his shoulder. This is a blessing, she whispered. Yes, Rian said. But the biggest blessing is that we are together. Inside the house, May was drawing on her new wooden box. She drew 3 people holding hands under a bright sun. Above them she wrote, my family. The next morning they went to the market. For the first time in a long while, they bought things without fear. Fresh vegetables, warm bread, better shoes for May. The shopkeeper noticed their peaceful smiles and said, you look happy today, Sarah replied kindly. Yes, it is a good day. When they returned home, May ran to her room to put away her new shoes. Rian and Sarah stayed in the living room. This is our new life, Sarah said softly. Not just because of money, but because we have hope now, Rian agreed. We will not waste it. We will live gently and wisely. Weeks passed. Their home became strong and beautiful. The roof was repaired. The walls were freshly painted. May joined a better school and made new friends. She brought home drawings of trees, stars, and smiling faces. She always showed them proudly to Rian and Sarah. The townspeople noticed the changes but also respected the quiet family. No one asked too many questions. Rian still worked part-time because he liked to stay active. Sarah volunteered at the local library. May joined a small art class. Every few days they visited the bunker. They kept it clean and organized. It became a calm place where they stored their tools and family memories. They never sold the old items. They chose to respect the past. One evening they stood inside the bunker together. The lights cast a warm glow across the shelves, May said. This place does not feel strange anymore. It feels like it wants us to stay. Rian smiled. It is part of our story now. Sarah looked around with peaceful eyes. And it will stay safe for many years. They closed the bunker and walked home. The sky was filled with soft pink clouds. Birds flew quietly overhead. As they reached the house, May took both their hands. Uncle, Auntie, thank you for making a place where I feel safe and loved. Rian's heart warmed. You make our life bright. May. Sarah nodded. You are our family. That is the biggest treasure. They went inside, ready for a simple dinner. Their table was not fancy, but it was full of warmth. In that moment they knew the truth. The money had changed their life, but love had shaped their future. Their journey had started with a strange smell in an old bunker, but it ended with a home full of peace, trust, and hope. And their story would continue for many years, filled with small joys and gentle days.